a minute or so early just to try and make sure that everything's working and try and get my restream up and going. So I'm hoping that this means that I am online already. Let me just double check. So I'm going to be online now for well, probably at least half an hour, possibly 45 minutes, answering your questions. Let's see. Is that you, Hells?
Yeah.
Am I online?
I'm going to check.
Yes, it looks like I am. Okay, amazing. So if you're watching this, get your questions in. I should be able to pick up them on Facebook Live. And YouTube, sadly, because this is going out in schools and it will be going out to youngsters, we have had to disable the live chat mode. But hopefully your teachers can get on board on Periscope or on Facebook, and that will then... Good morning! I've got my first messages coming through. Well, that at least means that it's working. Hi from Hamish in Australia. Amazing news. Okay, fantastic. In Perth. Hi, Hamish. Really good to have you on board. Kate Q also saying hi. We can see you on YouTube. I am a happy man. Okay, so I'd like to get started by saying a few thanks. It's been harder than I imagined to get this off the ground and get this working. So I have to say a huge thank you to Mark Baxter and to his two youngsters, Ethan and Aidan. Thank you so much for coming to my aid. Also to Fabian as well. You've been an absolute legend. And to my old friend, Ollie Bish. Thanks so much, mate. It's been really tricky this last week, but you helped me through it. Also, thank you very much to Hannah as well. So, what can we expect over the next half an hour to 45 minutes? Well, I'll be answering lots and lots of your wildlife questions. I'm actually here on the houseboat right now. The reason for that is this is the only place I can get any signal to transmit. But this is where we were living, Helen and I, when Logan was born. We were on here for 2 years. We have swans right outside the window right now. Egyptian geese. We may well hear some bird calls over the course of this session. And I'll do my best to tell you what they're all about. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some of your questions and answers. We're also going to have a game of Who's Poo, because I know that you lot all love your poo just as much as I do. We have even got a wonderful live animal to introduce to you a little bit later on, as well as some animal sounds for you all to respond to. Who else have we got who's Theo and Fletcher in Buckinghamshire, just down the road from me. Amazing. Really nice to hear from you guys. And yeah, lots and lots of people already asking questions. So let's get on board with the first one. Oliver, who's 11, asks, on Deadly 60, how happy were you to find the same green turtle and get him free from the fishing line? To any of you who haven't seen that episode yet, it is one of the most remarkable things that's ever happened to me working with wild animals. I was in Ecuador. We were diving. We were working with turtles, green turtles, hawksbills, and I caught a turtle that had a fishing line hook in its mouth, trailing this line out behind it. And we were on a dive in the day, and I caught it and I tried to untangle it, but it kicked free and it swam away. And I came back up to the surface with my team, and I was devastated, absolutely devastated, because this turtle had swum away and this plastic fishing line would, without question, entangle it and probably at some stage kill it. So we were all really depressed. Then about 3 or 4 days later, we were doing a night dive about a mile away from where we'd encountered that first turtle, and I was lying on the bottom listening to humpback whales singing, and this turtle came and laid down on the bottom in front of me. And it turned towards me, and it was the same turtle with this thread coming out of its mouth, trailing behind it. And it sat there on the bottom and allowed me to take the hook out of its mouth and disentangle it from this monofilament line that, like I said, would have killed it, and then swam away. And I swear that my crew on the surface could hear me screaming. I was so excited. It was one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. So yeah, thank you very much, Oliver, for your question. I think the answer is I was really chuffed. Okay, so we've got our first biology question that's come in. This is from Jake, aged 8. And he would like to know how deep sea creatures aren't crushed in the same way that a human would be in water. Jake, that is a sensational question, a really, really good one. So essentially, when we are on land at sea level, the pressure is 1 atmosphere. For every 10 meters you go below that, you add an extra atmosphere of pressure. The water doesn't compress, but we, as a human diver, would have our lungs and the air spaces in our ears and in our sinuses start to compress, and that's when we get compression sicknesses. And it is something that limits the depth to which we as human beings can go. Deep diving animals, if they're mammals, will, generally speaking, breathe out the air from their lungs. The oxygen that they're carrying is going to be in their blood and in their muscles, not in their lungs. They're also going to have, instead of swim bladders, if they're a fish, they'll probably have oil instead of gas. So again, it's not compressible. And they try to reduce or even shut down any air spaces in their bodies, because those are the bits that are going to be compressed by the deep pressure. And it is extreme. The deepest dive that I've ever been down to was only about 1,000 meters, so nothing like the deepest you can get to. We had a polystyrene cup on the outside of our vessel. It started off that big. When we came back up, it was the size of a thimble. It was a teeny tiny little thing that had been compressed down by the pressure. So pressure is real, and animals that dive deep find ways around it. Gabby, age 7 from Newbury, what's your favourite snake? Probably the king cobra, because it is incredibly complex, the longest venomous snake. What is the most lanky animal from Live in Lancashire? Obviously the giraffe, has to be, surely. Okay, we're going to move on to our first game. It's a game that I like to call Who's Poo? So what I've done is I've gone around and I've collected some animal droppings from around here, and what I need you to do is tell me who done it. So this is the first one. This is in the form of a pellet. Can you see that there? Small, round, compressible. And of all the poo that I've got here, it's the only one that I would be prepared to... No, I'm not going to do it. But it probably would be okay to eat. The animal that does this poo is what's called coprophagus. That means it eats its own poo. And the reason it does that is that it's feeding on mostly indigestible grasses. It doesn't have a great digestion system. It eats it once, poos it out, then eats the poo to manage to get through anything that's digestible that's in its poo and make sure that it uses those nutrients. So does anyone out there know who done a poo like this? Who have you got out there who can tell me who might do little pellet poo like this? I mean, pellets are found from animals ranging all the way up to the size of a giraffe or a kudu. You get antelope, goats, sheep, but there's one other much more obvious animal that we have in the UK, and you guys in Australia have them too, although you shouldn't have them. Anyone tell me what that might be? New messages. Right, let's see, what have we got? Are you getting any answers there, Hells? Anything coming in? Come on, you lot! There must be an answer to this, surely.
Questions.
We need a response to that one. Anyone tell me what done a poo like this? What about if I was to tell you that it lives in a warren? Anyone then? No, seriously? Okay, well this is actually poo from a rabbit. Okay, so let's move on to our next poo. Am I still streaming, Hells? Mm-hmm. That's very strange.
There's a delay.
Is there a delay? Okay, so this one is another good one, and it's again one that I found right here in my house. Rabbit poo, yes, Gabriel, Laurie and Finn, you get my first deadly points for the first Who's Poo.
Harriet says rabbit.
Harriet says rabbit. Christina Keshley says rabbit. Daniel Griffin says rabbit. Graham Johnson says rabbit. Helen Armand Jones says rabbit. And Kin Lohman says rabbit poo. Absolutely spot on. So, can you also tell me what this is? So, characteristically, it has a twisted end to it. It's long and thin. That twist is the bit which I would say most tells me what animal this comes from. And it's kind of related to a rabbit in that it might eat one. So I found this near the bins in my house. Anybody out there got any ideas what that might be?
What else? A little bit longer because people are guessing and it's delaying. So.
Okay, all right. So what I can tell you is when you look at the poo of a predator, this is a predator's poo. You'll probably see some remnants of the prey in there, and here I can see little twists of hair and fur. If I break it apart, there's also going to be little bits of bone in there as well. If I was looking at poo from a member of the cat family, it tends to be quite blocky, so it's unusual that you get that twisted end. That I more expect to see.
Ellery.
Or something from the dog family. Who's this?
Ellery's guessing fox.
Ellery is guessing fox. Spot on. Yes, that is very much the poo of a fox. Very well done.
Oh, we've got lots of apologies to make for all the correct rabbit guesses.
Oh, so many people have said yes to rabbit. Sorry, my feed is a little bit slow in catching up.
Fox.
Maggie and Victor, very well done with your guess of fox. Okay, so here's another one. So this one I found in my garden. It is green, it is mushy, and bits of it are white. So white poo, when it's completely fresh, when it's just come out of an animal's backside and it's white, that's usually evidence of a lot of urea in it. This is an animal that only has one hole for doing both of its business, and it doesn't have fur, it has something else. Is that a good clue? Anyone guess what lives on my lawn and on the river right next to me and does a poo like this? Mostly made up of vegetable matter, like I say, green, pretty inoffensive. Oh, we've got a 1 minute delay. It's going to be quite difficult to do the old poo game. Okay, then I'll tell you what, I'm going to cut to the chase. This one was from the rather marvellous swans that are nesting on my lawn right now. So I've got two big swans that they come in. They've just about started doing all their preparation for nesting on our lawn. And that's their business. And I've got one last one that I want to show you. And this is something that's really, really cool. This is something that switched me on to being a young naturalist when I was just a kid. So this is, well, it's kind of cheating to say it's poo. It's a round block. You would characteristically find this one near to a tree or a post that could be used for spying potential prey. And one of the coolest things that you can do as a young naturalist is to find these and take them apart. Because once you start taking them apart, you find inside, can you see that? That's fur from voles. And if I look really, really closely, I'm hopefully going to find some little bits of skull. Yeah, little bits of skull there. And those little bits of skull are going to be from the rodents that this bird is feeding on. Oh, yep, that there is a lower jawbone. Can you see that? From a vole, almost certainly from a vole. You can see that classic rodent tooth shape there. So by breaking these apart, not strictly speaking poo, actually coming out the other end, this is regurgitated by the bird, and it's called a pellet. By pulling these apart, you can figure out what this bird's been feeding on and how many of those things it's been eating. That there looks like, is that another bit of jawbone? Yeah. So even with my 1 minute delay, has anyone managed to tell me yet what this is from? Loads of people. Amazing. Fantastic. So who have we got? We've
got Will, Neil, Bo, Jemima, Barnaby, Lucy.
Will, Neil, Bo, Jemima. Who else was that?
Barnaby, Lucy.
Barnaby, Lucy. All have said, I'm guessing it is an owl pellet. So I've got a whole bag of these. These are barn owl pellets. Which we found on a barn in the farm near to us. Well, I say we found them. Tina, my lovely neighbour, found them and dropped them off on my doorstep. Tina, you are an absolute superstar. Thank you so much. With all of this, you know, poo and tracks and signs are one of the most important skills for any young naturalist to have and to get involved in. Please, 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 you know, washing your hands is the order of the day at the moment, but particularly make sure if you're doing anything to do with poo. It's not so much an issue for the herbivorous animals, but predatory animals can have quite a lot of pathogens in their droppings. So wear gloves or pull it apart with a stick. And if you do get anywhere near your hands, then do make sure you wash them. Right, let's move on to some more questions. So I've got Anna Ridley asks, is a shark warm-blooded or cold-blooded? That's a good question. So fish as a rule, are the 20,000 odd species of fish are cold-blooded. But there are some kinds of fish, and particularly some kinds of sharks, that can warm up their blood. And the way they do that is by something called a counter-current heat exchanger. That works by running blood vessels, veins and arteries that contain warmed blood, so blood that has been warmed up in the act of swimming, and they run that alongside veins and arteries that contain cooled blood. And what that does is it moderates out the temperature. Using countercurrent heat exchangers, some sharks, great whites, makos, salmon sharks, can raise their body temperature to well above the ambient temperature of the water around them. That enables them to stay fast, to stay sharp. Some fish, like marlin, for example, will use those countercurrent heat exchangers to drive warm blood to their eyes, so they can be much more efficient in seeing their prey. And essentially, it's a way of raising the body temperature to make them more efficient in cooled waters. The next question is kind of linked. So this is from Lucas Terry, aged 10, who says that he read that reindeer regulate their temperature by using their nose. And can I tell him about it? Well, yes, absolutely I can. It's really, really interesting. So reindeer, or caribou, have various challenges throughout their year living in far north environments. So at certain times of year they overheat, at certain times of the year it is absolutely freezing cold, and you're absolutely right, you're absolutely spot on. They use their noses and blood flow through their noses to regulate that. So this is an image of a reindeer taken using a thermal imaging camera. And you can see that the body is quite dark in colour, not much heat being lost there. The fur is regulating that temperature, keeping it nice inside. But the nose and the eyes are very, very light in colour because there's a lot of heat going through those. So what's happening here is that the reindeer is perfusing blood vessels in its nose, running warm oxygenated blood through its nose, and that can be used to warm up cold air as it's heading into the body, and therefore moderate the temperature of the air inside its body and regulate its heat. You can see there that by comparison is a dog's nose, and you can see it's cold and damp and wet. Reindeer can do the exact opposite at times of year when they need to warm themselves up. And like you say, they're using their nose and those blood vessels in their nose as a way of regulating their body temperature. So Albert 6 and Lenny 4 from Leeds want to know, where in the world is the shell fossil on my shelf from? So I'm guessing you mean this one. There's a good story behind this one, actually. So this one was found deep inside a cave system that had never been explored before in New Britain, which is right on the other side of the world, near to New Guinea. This fossil, no one had ever been in this cave system before. It took us about 2 weeks to get to the entrance of the cave, to abseil down to the mouth of it, to get inside of it, and 2 days worth of caving before we came across this. We were almost 1,000 meters above sea level, and it is very clearly a marine snail, this shell. I mean, I don't know exactly how old it is. I haven't had it aged, but I would guess it's probably 20 million years old. But how was it there? How was a shell, a snail that lives in the sea, found 1,000 meters above sea level, inside a cave 40 or 50 miles away from the coast? Well, I have loads and loads of fossils here, many of which have been found in the desert, many of which have been found way above sea level. And how they get there is a really, really interesting question, and leads me on to my next one. Wilf 10 would like to know why and how the tectonic plates move, please. So essentially, our globe has its different layers, the mantle and the crust, and the crust is floating, the tectonic plates are floating incredibly slowly over the surface of the molten rock below them. Where they make contact with each other, parts of the crust can be pushed underneath, parts of the crust can be pushed up, and in some places the pressure can form mountain ranges to form. So what's happened is, over millions of years, shells that have been left on a shallow seabed have been risen up until they become dry land, risen up until they become mountains, and over deep time they may have formed deserts, jungles, many other completely different environments from where they were first formed. So I found this. Can anyone guess what that is? In the Middle East, in the desert, again, maybe 1,000 meters above sea level, probably 100 miles away from the coast in the Sinai. And I've got a couple of people coming in saying that it looks like coral, which is exactly what it is. That is a coral head formed completely of stone. So the process of forming a fossil takes a very, very long time. This here is a scallop. That, for comparison, is a scallop that you might find in the sea today. That is a fossilized one, again found in the desert. And what happens is the live animal, the live scallop, would be down on the bottom, it would die, and then it would get covered with layers of silt. Let's imagine we're in an estuary or a shallow seabed. And over deep time, every single atom of that scallop is replaced with a mineral, and eventually you get a rather wonderful rocky fossil like this. Simple way of telling the difference is just weight. That one there weighs almost nothing. That's the calcium carbonate shell of the scallop. That is really heavy because it's rock. That is a proper fossil that's been formed over deep time and then lifted over even deeper time by the movement of the tectonic plates until it's sat in the desert. Okay, now I've got some really good questions that have come in about one particular kind of animal, and I've got a live one to show you right now. So if I can try and move on to those questions, and we'll see if we can... Oh, right, okay, so we've got some good ones here. Eva K wants to know if praying mantis have a sense of smell, and Jenna and Aston Kendall want to know, why does the female praying mantis eat the male? Well, I'm going to explain those things while introducing you to a rather wonderful, real, live praying mantis. I'm going to move carefully because she is quite delicate. She's got these tiny little tarsal claws on the end of her legs, which are at present hooking into this little piece of tissue paper. Oh, and she's going to display! Amazing! I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so this is a peacock mantis. And the reason she's called a peacock mantis is that when they display, they throw up their hind wings like that, and you see those incredible peacock spots. There you go. And she's just, as she's come out of her case where she was nice and comfortable, she's gone, hang on a sec, where am I in a new environment? And has put on this flash display showing off those eye spots. Now, a flash display like this is used because a lot of predators will form a search image of something they're going to want to eat. So let's imagine that a bird has spotted our peacock mantis in a bush and has flown down to take a look. The peacock mantis throws up its wings like this and creates a really dramatic visual image, and the bird will fix on that image and it will go, oh, I want to eat that. It looks like a big thing with two red wings here and a couple of big bright eye spots. The peacock mantis then drops down to the ground, folds in these wings, and all of a sudden it's invisible, and the bird is searching around for something bright and dramatic and really visual and can't see it because it's looking for something different. The other possibility is you see eye spots quite a lot in nature, and what they could be is a kind of mimicry. So quite often it can be that a creature like this will expose those eye spots, and a predator might think, oh, hang on a sec, that's something big with big eyes. I don't want to eat that. That looks big and scary and frightening. So there it is, our marvellous peacock mantis. Okay, let's go back to those questions. So the first one was, why does the female praying mantis eat the male after mating? Well, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does sometimes. And not just in praying mantises, it happens also sometimes in some kinds of spiders as well. And the reason for it is quite a simple one. You know, essentially the animal's purpose, for want of a better word, is to pass on its genes. And once it's done that, the male has kind of served his purpose, and he can help to pass on his genes to his young spring by providing protein for the female. So she eats him to get a good meal so that she can then lay up, go and make herself comfortable somewhere where she can't be seen, can't be found, and she can use the protein of her mate to take her through the lean times of her pregnancy. And this female mantis right now is actually, be quite careful because she has got, like I said, these tarsal claws at the end of each leg which grip her on. If you look at the abdomen of our mantis, this is a female, and she's quite heavy-bodied. This female right now is pregnant. She is full of teeny tiny little eggs. And eventually, once she's ready, what she'll do is she will spray out of her back end something that looks like that. That is an ootheca. It's an egg case. It's kind of spongy. When she does that, it will be liquid, but it hardens into this kind of squishy, spongy material. They usually attach that to a leaf or a twig. Inside that are dozens of little eggs, and eventually they will hatch out into tiny mini mantises, which will make their way out of the egg and go out and begin feeding on things like teeny tiny flies and maggots and things. Okay, there was another mantis question there as well, wasn't there? It was about smelling. So mantises don't have evident noses. Their primary methods of sensing their environment are using their antennae, which are quite small and stout, and they're there on the head, and the eyes. They're very, very visual animals. So they have eyes with many, many compound lenses. They're incredibly good at judging distance, at judging animals that are moving, and really, really good for helping the mantis to catch flying insects, flying soft-bodied insects, while they are in flight. How are we getting on with the chat, Els?
Really great question. Someone wants to know, where are they found? That was James, age 12. Where are praying mantises found?
So mantids can be found in the tropics and subtropics all over the world. There are several thousand different species. What else have we got here? There was another question, wasn't there, about mantids? Okay, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to put this one back, and I am going to move on to questions because my live stream has just popped back up again. Lots of people asking if I've been bitten badly. Quite a lot, but nothing to write home about. Edward Grooby's saying he has a peacock mantis, or maybe he's saying he's got a peacock. I'm not sure. One of the two. I'm guessing it's a peacock mantis. They are absolutely stunning. I'm so glad that she put on that beautiful display for you all, because they don't always do it. What else have I got? Liz Siri saying, what will you do when she has the sac, when she has the ootheca? This actually belongs to a friend of mine. We'll make sure that it's kept at the right temperature and hatches out, and that each one of those youngsters is given a chance to grow up into an active adult. What else have we got? Gemma Pike, is it true that crane flies are the most venomous animal but can't deliver the venom? No, that is one of the classic urban myths about animals. It's absolutely not true. Crumbs, we've flown through, we're at 10 o'clock already. I've still got enough people on that I think I'm going to stay on for another 10-15 minutes or so. Don't worry about heading off if you've had enough. That's absolutely fine. I will be back doing this again next Wednesday. Now that we've got the tech sorted out, why not? I'll try and make sure that I can do it for as long as I can. So keep your questions coming in. Make sure that you are back here next Wednesday after Joe Wicks. I should also say that at 10:15, the RNLI are also doing a live chat on their website, or I think on Facebook. They do so much amazing work. So if you can support them by getting online, I'm sure they can tell you an awful lot about how you can stay safe around our coasts. And thank you to all the wonderful people at the RNLI for all the incredible work that they do. So Rosalie is asking, how many species of animals are endangered? Sadly, that's a question that we can't really answer. There's probably a huge amount of animals that we don't even know exist yet that are either endangered or right on the brink of extinction. It is a very, very sad question, and quite a lot of those animals are absolutely spectacular. I think one of the ones that to me is most sad that we could well lose within the next few years really is this. It's called the vaquita. It is the smallest species of cetacean, that is whale or dolphin. It's a teeny tiny porpoise, not much longer than my arm. They live in the Sea of Cortez, and they are down to just a few dozen animals, most of which are being taken by catch, which is terribly, terribly sad. It would be horrific if we were to lose an animal like the vaquita, but sadly we are losing animals at an unprecedented rate right now, and almost all of them are going down to human pressure. Okay, I'm going to move to one more game now. This is an animal sound game. So I'd like you guys to tell me what animals these sounds come from. Let's see if I can get my live stream running well enough that I can get your answers. Okay, so this is sound number one. Who can tell me what makes a sound like this? I love that sound. I have to say, I'm not a massive fan of the animal, though. I mean, a lot of people ask me quite a lot what I think the scariest animal in the world is. And this is, without doubt, the scariest animal to work with, this particular creature. I'm going to keep refreshing, see if anyone can give me an answer to what animal makes a sound like this. This is an amphibious animal, one that spends a lot of time in the water. It's a mammal. Probably, can I say the most dangerous animal in Africa? I mean, no, not really, because, there's lots of invertebrates that are far more dangerous to us as human beings. But I have to say, being around this is, without doubt, the scariest of all animals. I'm going to just see if I've got anyone telling me. Yes, lots and lots of people saying Evan Holland, Paul Woodbridge, Belinda Taranto. Oh no, sorry, Belinda, you're not right. But they're all saying a hippo. Spot on. That is absolutely correct. That is a hippo. Let's give you another one. So this one is a marine animal. Again, it's a mammal. Very, very deep diving. What else can I tell you? They're found in the southern hemisphere, although there are two different species, and one of them does occur slightly above the northern hemisphere in the New World. They are animals that can dive down to over 1,000 meters below sea level. The males and the females are very, very different in size. The males are huge, can be up to 6 tons. And they create that sound by reverberating air out of their lungs through a huge, distended, blubbery nose. That's a male making that sound. Have we got anyone coming in with an answer to that? That's a terrific sound. Esther Gale says elephant seal from Periscope. Sarah Hastelow says elephant seal, also from Periscope. That is great news. Lots and lots of people coming in with the right answer for that. Thank you all very, very much. Yes, spot on. Okay, right, we'll do one more. So this is to my friends down south. I appreciate that it's quite late down there in Australia now, but if there are any of you out there still tuning in, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. I tried to do this live lesson at a time that would work for all of you guys as well. I understand that it's quite late for you youngsters, but all of you are going to get this straight away. Who can tell me what this is? Philip Zazeka says ripping trousers. No, although I can kind of see what you mean. What else have we got? We've got lots of answers coming in from Facebook. So lots and lots of my Australian friends saying straight away, it is, without question, a kookaburra. Of course it is. One more time. Okay, I'm going to do one last one. Let's see if we can get an answer to this. this is an unusual one. It might be quite tricky to you all. So it's quite bird-like, but this, again, is from a mammal, not from a bird, a marine mammal that's sometimes known as the... Oh, love it. Simon Lampkin says Donald Trump. Loads and loads of answers for Kookaburra. All really good. A few people coming in saying that it's a dolphin. You're really, really close. Or a porpoise, also quite close. Murray Sherrington also saying a dolphin. Katie saying a dolphin. It's not. This is an animal that's known sometimes as the canary of the sea. Anyone got any guesses what that might be? The canary of the sea? It is the famous white whale. Lots and lots and lots of people saying dolphin or hyena. No. I'm going to do one last refresh, see if anyone's got it. It is the famous Arctic white whale. Okay, so there's 3 cetaceans that live only in the Arctic and nowhere else. The bowhead whale is one of them. Marcus Darville says beluga whale. Massive high five to you across the internet there. Yes, you are absolutely spot on. It is the beluga whale. Very, very well done. Okay, we're going to move on now to some more of your questions. Jilly asks, where do butterflies go in the winter? Super question, and it's one that's being answered right now. So butterflies can overwinter in several different ways. They can overwinter as a chrysalis or a pupa, or they can overwinter as an adult. And quite often now, this time of year, you'll start to see quite tatty looking butterflies flying around quite early in the season if it warms up unseasonally. I mean, I've seen peacocks and commas flying around my garden already this year. Those are going to be ones that have overwintered as adults. So come the end of the season last year, they'll find themselves an old drawer or a place behind a painting or inside a log pile, and they just lie down and basically go into stasis, into hibernation for the whole of the winter, and then they rouse themselves and they wake up as soon as it gets nice and warm and light again. So those are last year's adults that are flying again, but most of them will start the process all over again come the spring. So Sophia Dickens asks, how do jellyfish know where to go when they don't have eyes? That's from Tom in Harpenden. Super question. Well, not all jellyfish don't have eyes. So I've got one here. This is one of the world's most venomous creatures in a jar. This was given to me. Let's see if I can get the light right. That's quite tricky there. You can probably just see it down in the corner there. So this is an Australian animal, one of the most venomous creatures in the world. It is an irukandji jellyfish, which is in the same group as Chironix fleckeri, the box jellyfish, the most venomous animal on the planet. And these jellyfish do have simple eyes that run around the outside of their bell, enough to be able to detect light, to be able to detect which direction that they should move in, and to be able to swim against current as well. So yeah, it's not completely true that all jellyfish do not have eyes. Let's see. So all the techers seem to have gone really well today, apart from my questions have been really, really slow uploading. It's taken nearly a minute for each of them to upload. So I'm really sorry if I haven't got enough of your shout outs to you all. I'll try and see if I can get that sorted out by next week. What we'll do, I'm going to go through till 10:15, so I'll give it another 7 minutes. So that way, if you're watching this and you'd like to tune into the RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, I should know that. If you'd like to tune into their live web chat directly after, you can go straight from here to that. What else have we got? We heard and saw a woodpecker on our dog walk this morning. How do they not bang their eyes out? That's from Josh, 10, and Jamie, 7. Super question, really good question. Woodpeckers, a whole bunch of different woodpeckers found all over the world in lots and lots of different locations. In fact, I've got one right here. So that's a taxidermied woodpecker, which has been lent to me by one of my neighbours. It's a young male great spotted woodpecker. And essentially what woodpeckers have is a very, very tough, sturdy skull, much more ossified or bony than you'd expect from other birds of a similar size. And that effectively provides protection when they're bashing their heads against a tree trunk, which they do for many different reasons. They do it to excavate bugs. They can do it to make nesting holes. They can do it for drumming, which is communication as well. There are lots of other birds that also undergo quite a lot of pressure to their bodies, things like gannets, for example, and those will actually have air pockets in their bodies which can act almost like airbags, act as a way of protecting the brain and the skull and the internal organs when they make high impact pressure with the water at great speed. What else can I tell you about woodpeckers? Well, I've got this. Well, actually, I'll tell you what I can do is if you look at the toes, you see that? This is something that's really interesting on woodpeckers. So you have those two going forwards and these going back. That enables them to grip as they're running up and down tree trunks. So that's quite classic of woodpeckers. Woodpeckers also have a really classic flight pattern. This is something I quite like to talk about probably on my next live lesson next week, is how you identify birds. And the way you identify birds, generally speaking, is not by taking a really close look at their colours, but you tend to look at the more general indication of the bird, and their flight pattern is really important. So with woodpeckers, what you usually see is a few really full-on beats of the wings, and the bird goes up, and then it just sort of drops down, and then it does it again. So its flight pattern goes like this. And you see these kind of jerky, undulating flight patterns of the bird in flight, and it's almost instantly obvious that it's a woodpecker as opposed to any other bird of a similar sort of size. That kind of up and down flight. The tongue's also really cool. A lot of woodpecker species have a sort of barb on the end of the tongue, which they can use to hook insects out of a hole. What else have we got here? Gail Lucy says, you must know what animal has the strongest bite today. Well, it's the big crocodilians. The Nile crocodile and the saltwater crocodile have a bite that can be as much as 3,500 pounds per square inch, which is, yes, incredibly potent. Freya Minter in Scotland asks, can snakes hear? Well, they don't have any external ear openings, and they probably don't hear airborne sounds, or if they do, they don't hear them very well, but they can pick up vibrations, and the vibrations created by sound from the ground and from the objects around them. They can do that through their jaws, or they can do it simply through their bone structure. Okay, again, I'm really struggling to get my live feed and questions to refresh, which is a little bit of a pain. Okay, so let me do another question while I'm waiting. So we have Freddie and Martha from Exeter would like to know if I've ever seen a sarcastic fringehead. That is not a joke question. That is a real animal. It is a rather wonderful fish, which not only has the greatest name of any animal alive, but is also crazy cool. A sarcastic fringehead looks like that, which is just awesome. They are so beautiful, and when they strike, because they are a predatory fish, they look, where's it gone? So they lie in wait. They're a sit and wait predator, and when their prey gets nearby, or when they're displaying, they do that. Look at that, isn't that incredible? The entire mouth is opening up like some kind of crazy fan, exposing the tiny little teeth inside and snatching hold of their prey, or they can do that in display as well when they're trying to frighten off other animals. Okay, we are getting very close to the end of our live lesson. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm just going to try and get this up one last time so I can just do a few shout outs before we come to an end, because it seems to have been really successful. I'm going to be back here again next Wednesday morning from 09:30. So hi Freddie in Wantage, Jennifer, Jake Davison in Dorking, Lucas Skyvader. I really hope that, I wish that was your name, because that would be absolutely awesome. We have Michelle Conway, hello. Jason Clarkson, hi, how you doing? Sanika Hirmath on Periscope, saying, how do hummingbirds hum? They hum because their wings are moving so fast. Could be some of the fastest vertebrate muscles in the animal world that are driving those wings. Lucy Bamber saying, thank you. The albino wolf, the same to you as well. Sarah Beale saying, please read mine. Someone called Yeet Blobfish saying, have you ever seen a blobfish? I haven't seen an actual one, although I have seen a photo. I'll get a photo for you up on the app next time round. Archie and Charlie Wallworker saying hello. Nicolette Glover saying thank you. Same to you. Seb in Cornwall, hello you all. How you doing? Lee Cottingham and Edward Cottingham saying hello. Hello to everyone. Thank you so much. It's been really, really good fun. I will do this again next Wednesday. There are going to be more live animals. We might even have some more live poo, if you liked that, and lots and lots of other things from my treasures we got here. I didn't get to any of this stuff, so send in lots and lots of your questions. Again, a massive thank you to my great friends, Ollie Bishop, you've been a legend. Hannah Pollock, you're a superstar. Mark Baxton, Ethan and Aidan, and of course Fabian as well. All of you for making this happen. I will see you guys next week, and all the very best from me, Stevie B!